All right, good morning. Before I get started, I just want to take a minute here to express my appreciation publicly for a couple people, and starting with Terry and Kim Pagula. The support that they give us is second to none. Their commitment, and you guys have seen it, to winning is second to none in this league, and so that I'm extremely appreciative. To Brandon and our staffs that daily stand behind both of us and support us, to our players. There's no group of players to me that have stood and worked day in and day out as hard as these players worked this past season. And so for that, I'm extremely appreciative. To our fans, just being here 3 years now, this fan base is as loyal and as passionate as I've ever been around. To meet us at the airport at 2 o'clock in the morning, in January, and to show their appreciation the way that they do week in and week out, year in and year out, just it's unique and special. And for that, I'm extremely appreciative. And to you guys as well, for writing the stories, the good stories, what's good about our football team and how we're out in the community affecting positive change and giving hope. It goes a long way, and for that I'm extremely appreciative as well. I do want to take a moment before we get into the football part of it to also express my appreciation and respect for Lorenzo Alexander and his family and the job that he's done as a leader on and off the field and in our community here in Western New York. That goes a long way, and he's been a tremendous asset to me as the head coach in connecting my message to our locker room. And so I just wanted to take a minute to wish him well and thank him for everything that he's done over the last couple of years. So transitioning to the game and football, the game certainly did not end the way we wanted it to end. It did not go the way we wanted it to go, in particular in the second half. And because of that, it's been a painful couple of days for all of us, and I recognize that. My hope is in time that if it's handled the right way, the pain will it'll turn into strength, and that strength will turn into growth. And I think that's what really separates the winning organizations, the winners in our lives and our world, is that those painful moments, they turn into that strength, and then the growth that comes from that is what continues to move us forward as an organization, as a fan base, and as a team overall, quite frankly. So. There's a lot we can learn from that game. We've got to keep our team together, as many pieces as we can, and then approach this offseason with a tremendous amount of urgency as we continue to grow, continue to build this football team and this organization into what we want it to become.
Sean, what do you feel are the biggest elements or steps you need to take as a team, as an organization, to reach that next level looking forward this offseason?
Yeah, I would start off by telling you we've got a lot of work to do, right? We have to, number one, start in-house, right? Start internally in terms of our roster, and we've got some decisions to make. I won't go into all those decisions. You guys know some of what those are, but making sure that we keep as much of this team intact as possible.
Sean, in your 3 years, offense has not probably been where you wanted it to be. It seems there was some progress this year. What I'd like to know is how much input on game day do you have with what's going on, with what Ryan's doing? I know you're calling punter, go for it, or that, but in terms of offense, the play-to-play stuff, how much of a role do you have in that?
Well, I would tell you probably head coaches vary, right? There's offensive head coaches, there's labeled defensive head coaches. As a head coach, it's my opinion that you have your hand in all sides of it. Now, the day-to-day, the play-in and play-out play calling obviously resides with Brian.
So he's calling a play. Are you ever in there? Wait a minute. No, we're doing something else. Do you ever have to do that?
Yeah, there's times when I do that. There's times when I make suggestions. There's times when I, within series, and you try within plays to offer. I mean, you don't have so much time. So, but there is times when that we have quick conversations in there, play to play. Yes.
Sean, as well as Josh Allen played through much of the season, what concerns do you raise over how unraveled in that end, near the end of the game, and with the turnover that happened that led to the field goal, and just how that game unraveled in front of him?
Yeah, overall, let's start from the start with Josh. He's made a tremendous amount of progress. Let's start there. Let's recognize the work that this young man has put in and the growth that he has shown. Is there still work to do? Yes, and he'd be the first to tell you that is, in fact, the case. The game did not end the way we wanted it to end, and the reason is because, we didn't play well enough in the second half in particular. We scored field goals, we needed touchdowns. You look back and you say, hey, we're up 13. I believe it was after half there, 13, we get a takeaway. We have a chance to go up 20 at that point, 20-0, 20-0, and maybe the game changes at that point. Maybe it doesn't. And so there's certainly things that he can do better. There's certainly things that I can do better, and our entire football team. And I think if you take the right approach, that's being accountable and you take ownership. And I know Josh did that. That's really where it starts. And so. With that, he'll put the work in, and he'll be better next season. And I think you'll see another step this offseason into next season.
Would you have expected more in some of those situations, though, at this point in Josh's career with the second season under his belt in a game of that magnitude? Some of the decision-making I'm talking about, whether it was the intentional rounding or the lateral, I'm referring to those specific types of.
Yeah, I think it all comes back to just for Josh trying to do too much, and that's been something we've talked about. That's been something he has to continue to handle as he moves forward and as he continues to grow in his career. And I'm confident that he'll do that. I think that's the next step for Josh. Is that awareness, maturity, however you want to phrase it. It's the understanding that I don't have to do it all myself. I'm a tremendous generator and playmaker, but I've got pieces around me. And as we continue, in all honesty, to build a roster, that's what we have to do, is to continue to give him pieces that he trusts in addition to the ones that he already has.
Sean, you've talked a lot about continuity around,
Yep.
really. How much have you seen Josh grow with Brian over the last 2 years? And knowing that Brian has interviewed with the Browns, how much concern do you have there that if Josh doesn't have Brian back next year, that he can continue on this upward trajectory?
Well, I just think I'm not going to talk about Brian with the Cleveland. I'm going to talk about our football team and where we're trying to go. At the end of the day, we all have to get better, and that starts with me. And it goes right into the rest of my coaching staff, and then into our players. And that continuity is important with Josh and our coaching staff, but it's also important in other areas of our team as well. So. We've got some thoughts on where we need to improve, and certainly continuity is important, not just from coach to player, but coach to coach, player to player, and the list goes on. So, the more we're around each other, the more continuity, and that's where we talk about, as I said, keeping this team as intact as possible. That certainly helps you.
Sean, what's your timeline on evaluating staff, any changes that we made, things like that?
Yeah, we'll listen, we're going to continue to evaluate our whole football team, and that's a piece of it. But for right now, I don't plan on any changes at this point.
Sean, you improved really, I think since you got here, you've given up a lot less points defensively.
Yeah.
That's been the major thing that we see, but offensively, you've kind of stayed right, scoring around 19 a game all the way through. What do you got to do to get better offensively in your own mind? Everybody talks about receivers, running backs. What do you need?
Yeah. Execution. It doesn't matter regardless of what you do, right? Regardless of what you do or who you have, at the end of the day, you've got to be able to execute better than the defense executes to score points. And that's a one-liner for you on it. And there's more details that go into it and variables and everything, but we've got to score more points. I think everybody knows that. I know that, and we have to find answers to do that. And that's part of our off season.
Coach, despite the work that you said you have to do here in the offseason, just in general, how do you feel you and Brandon kind of position the team going forward into 2020?
Well, I think as you look at it, you use your five senses as a leader, and part of that is awareness of not just what you see, but what you hear, what you feel, what you smell. What you touch out there, and that's all I think that's real. The change that's happened over the last 2.5 to 3 years at this point. And now it's about where we go from here. And I'm excited about what's ahead of us. As much as we can carry over from the foundation that we've built is important to our future success. But there's also an understanding of every year is a new year. Chris, and every team has their own team, is their own team, and has their own identity. So that's where the urgency has to come in. We can't sit back, nor will I ever sit back, or Brandon sit back for that matter, and say, hey, this is where we are, we're good, and we just need to take this much more. That's not how this league works. You see, and you've seen teams, one year they're up, next year they're down. I think there was a stat the other day about there's only 1 or 2 remaining teams this year that were in the Final 8 last year. That's the truth of our league. So that's where the urgency comes in, and we have to approach it with a tremendous amount of urgency.
So how do you justify 8 carries for Frank Gore in that game? It seemed like you were deferring to his legend and his stature rather than what he is right now.
Yeah, I think, Jerry, that's just the way the game and the play call has trended at that point. I know this. It's not good to have one back carry the ball every time, right? So, you like to have 2 backs that work together. Doesn't mean it's exactly how you want it to work out every week, not exactly. So, look, at the end of the day, we didn't win the game, and that's my responsibility.
John, 3 days later now, you look back on it, your defense really played well all year. Are you still trying to figure out what happened in the fourth quarter and overtime? Because there were some crushing letdowns on defense, which have not been something we've really seen all year.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, Sal, it's, the things that you have to do in playoff games, in the Super Bowl, you've got to be able to do the little things. And sometimes the little things become the big things, and that's where I was going with it, is tackling. In key moments of the game, we didn't tackle well. And so that showed up fundamentally, and I know I talk a lot about it, and so this is not anything new. It's you have to be able to have high level of execution of your fundamentals in key moments of the game, and we didn't. And then we have to continue as coaches to go back and look at and say why, schematically, why were we putting the players in the position, all of that. And that's really it's really what we have to do, is evaluate from top to bottom.
Just a quick follow-up, because people have asked me to ask you about the 3rd and 18. What exactly happened? Why was there such a gap when your guys dropped so far back on that and they couldn't recover?
Yeah, we got
what
to.
Exactly happened?
Well, we got too soft in there with underneath coverage, and then we had some young players in there that we got too deep in the coverage, and we played zone on 3rd and 18, which is probably what most. What we believe in to do and keep the ball in front of us, but we didn't react fast enough, and then again tackling came into play, and then he knocked us back and we didn't knock him back, and we should have been on the scene a little quicker. And so it's young players in that situation recognizing situational football, taking away the deeper routes that would throw and catching without the run and get the first down, and then being able to react quicker underneath. So they made a play and we did.
John, speaking of plays that fans have asked us to ask you about, the opening kickoff of the second half.
Yeah.
Your interpretation of that and kind of the explanation you got.
Yeah.
As it all unfolded.
Yeah, I wish I could go and give our fans an explanation, but I don't want to go there right now. I can't go there right now. So the part I will say is we had a chance to go up 20-0, I think, or was it 20-0 at that point. It did not get ruled. It got ruled that way at first, and then it got changed. And so I have to stand by and go with what the ruling got changed to. That's the way our league works, and so I can tell you I've had a conversation with the league office about it, and the explanation they gave me, they supported the call on the field and what it got reversed to. So that's what we go by.
How about the blindside block?
Yeah.
Do you think they followed the letter of the law there?
Again, I asked about that as well, and they felt like it was called the right way.
So what about the 0-0, that too, the clock running to 0 on that long pass completion?
Yeah, we did not talk about that. I mean, there's, they stand by their calls. So.
Sean, you guys decided to activate for this game. How do you feel like
And let me go back to the calls part, and I want to reiterate, that's not, we control what we can control, and that is not, I want to make it clear for us, for our team, and for our fan base, that is not why we lost the game, right? We take responsibility, I take ownership and responsibility as the head coach, and we move forward, and we need to play and coach better. That should not come into play. Go ahead.
You decided to activate Duke Williams. How do you feel like he played, and do you feel like at all his activation took away opportunities for anybody else that, continuity had been built?
Yeah, no, not at all. Duke performed, he produced. I know he wanted to have another catch or two, which would have helped us, but the people that earn the playing, when you earn playing time, that's who plays. I don't care who it is, what round draft pick, what they get paid, and the players know this. Whoever earns playing time, that's who plays.
With that in mind, he earned it for the playoff game, so then why not for the last half of the season? Was it just something you didn't see enough in practice?
No, it was somebody else had earned it to that point, and then we made a decision based on what had trended the last couple of weeks of the season, and then also in the Jets game and the week leading up to the Jets game. That's the reason why we went that direction with Duke. So.
Sean, you were just 4-4 at home this year. I know the last game you kind of throw out a little bit, but how do you make this a tougher place to play?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough place to play. We have to play better. We had some close games here. Two of the, well, let's say, the one loss in the last Jets game. If you take it to three from there, so you say, hey, we've got 3 games, and I think the 2 of them, the New England game and the Baltimore game, went down to the last drive, and the Philadelphia game obviously was the game that we didn't have a chance in the fourth quarter at the end. So, that's a big, bless you, big thing for us is playing well at home and trying to capture the AFC East.
Given the length of time, and a lot of it, that the players are dispersed in the offseason, especially in the case of Josh Allen, where he's talked about working with his quarterback guy, Jordan Palmer, like he's done. And in terms of you as a staff giving him specific points to address, is this offseason going to be like significantly different than, say, last offseason, where you can maybe finely tune or find those points that he really needs to address, and he's out of your sight for a while, so you got to assume he's going to do that. How have you discussed that with him?
Well, some of that is driven by league rule and what you can and can't do, Vic, as you know. I mean, the rest of it is, I would say that there's more known pieces now offensively that guys communicate and guys like to get together and work out together. So I think that'll be a big thing this offseason and the time between now and the time that our players come back.
But you can give him a menu. I mean, that's legal before can you?
Jerry Hughes.
We only do what's legal.
Jerry Hughes tweeted today that he had torn
Ligaments in his wrist. Do you anticipate him having surgery for it?
Yeah, we're still working through the the final medical report on that, John, so, we'll see how it goes.
Is there a reason why he wasn't on the injury report? If you can explain what that?
Yeah, he was on the injury report. It was not in relation to his wrist. He was on the injury report, I believe at one point for his groin, and then another time just overall for veteran rest.
Jason, would you consider this season, go ahead.
The last 6 weeks or so of the season, you had the playoff game experience, and then, quite frankly, a couple of games there that were like playoff game experiences.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh trip, Dallas, the Patriots game. How much of that can you take in the next year? How much does that help the team having played in really pressured situations?
Yeah, Josh, that's big. That's big. Being, with our young team, and whether it's Josh, Tremaine, or anybody else, any of the other younger guys. I mean, those moments. Look, I can't get those moments out here on the practice field as much as I want. We can pump the crowd noise, we can do this and that, but being in those moments, there's something to be said for that. I know it was mentioned before the amount of experience that I've had in the playoffs. There's no substitute for those games, for 2 Super Bowl games. There's no, and how you prepare for those, and you try and, like I've said, keep the routine, but you build up some credits and some mental and physical fortitude, if you will, and strength of what those moments and what they take, and that's where, it really, you know, again, in my experience, we had some opportunities in Philadelphia in four NFC championship games. A couple of them worked out and a couple did not. And so it's, hey, what do you learn from that coming off of it that helps you the next season? There's no guarantee to taking, hey, 6 more inches the next year. But how do you start over and use, again, that pain to turn into strength and growth for you? And so that's what we're trying to do this offseason.
Sean, with how important Cole Beasley became throughout the stretch of the season, especially when Josh was making jumps in progress, why wasn't he more involved in the playoff game and to the point where he was outsnapped by Duke Williams?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of our goals early on, and they did some things at times to take him away. But overall, that's, as you look again, another area where we could have done a better job right there.
Sean, let's try this another way. What would you like to see Josh Allen work on this offseason?
Well, I mean, I just think number one is let's start with rest. As you look at the timeline of his offseason, get away. He's a young man that spends a tremendous amount of time in our building, as you know, and is get rest, push back a little bit, and I know he's going to do this, is start working on his body first, getting his body healthy, getting his body ready to go, building strength. I thought he did a good job this year of staying healthy, which is a number one, availability, and then, you know, working with you know, Jordan in this case, and making sure that he's working on techniques. Obviously, the deep ball has been a conversation, and so he's very aware of that. His feet. So there's plenty for Josh to work on. We'll start there, and Josh is very aware of that, and that's the greatest part about Josh is you know, he's aware of it, and he's self-critical, and so that's a start, and he'll take that and combine that with his tremendous work ethic, and I think he'll have a great offseason.
Sean, do you believe Tre'Davious White elevated himself this season into the conversation as arguably the best corner in the league?
I think he's had a heck of a year, and when you look at the work he's put in, all the way back to last offseason, and then the work he did on the field, when you look at making plays on the ball this season, taking the ball away, tackling. So, I mean, those are two. When you can combine both of those realms of corner play, you've got something pretty good right there.
How would you evaluate the rookie class, especially those who played a lot of snaps, Cody Ford, Devin Singletary, Dawson Knox, and Oliver?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you look at our team that's out there in the playoff game, Maddie, and you're saying, hey, these, you know, you got Dawson out there, first-year player, you got Devin out there, first-year player, and you got some other first-year players and second-year players making big-time contributions. And I think this rookie class overall probably progressed quicker than the year before's class, and that's a credit to them. It's a credit to Brandon and his staff, and then also our development team and the way that they got these young guys in a short amount of time to understand what habits need to look like in the NFL if you want to play and you want to perform at a high level. And the players, I think, took the rest of it upon themselves to contribute at a high level, which bodes well again for the future.
Sean, at the end of the first half, you guys came out of a timeout. You were up 10-0, and then you elected to run it with Frank Gore and then spike the ball. What went into that decision? Because it seemed like you were playing for the field goal that time.
Yeah, no, we weren't. Just that's a series of calls we went back. Yeah.
Sean, with Lorenzo's void, with him leaving, just are there players that you might even want to single out, if not, but just how you feel about the leadership that's in place in the room right now?
With Lorenzo?
Lorenzo
No, I mean, listen, this is, you know, one of the things that happened when we came off the Super Bowl in Carolina was lessons that I learned where we probably let too many of the leaders out of the building. And some of that happens with retirement and other reasons that come with age. But overall, that's part of what I meant with keeping as much of this team intact as possible. Each year, as I said, and each team's different, but you give yourself a better chance the more that you keep a team intact.
On that note, Frank said he's undecided about his NFL future, whether that's Buffalo or anywhere else. What does he mean to your team and the running back room specifically this year?
Yeah, I would say just, you know, I don't think I've been around a guy that's pound for pound as tough as Frank Gore. A professional like Frank Gore and his habits day in and day out. And then just as big was his example to Devin, on and off the field. So that's some of what we're talking about with veteran leaders, trying to get a veteran leader in every room, that Brandon and I are trying to establish that. Frank was a great example of that to Devin.
You talked about pain and painful, this being a painful couple of days. How long do you think it'll take for you to get over what happened?
I don't think you ever get over those memories. But again, I believe this, John, that winners know how to turn that pain into growth, and that's what I've done, me personally. As you asked about myself, that's what I've done. And as I told the team, and as I told you guys after the game, we'll never stop fighting, and that's been my career to this point. And I expect the Buffalo Bills to never stop fighting.